Greetings once again. TicketsPlease Reviews here to take you on another Simmag journey. This time with stops in Aleppo, Syria, Bhutan, the American South in the 1950s and 1960s, California, New York City in the opening days of the 2008 financial crisis, the oceans surrounding the Marshall Islands, and a small football-obsessed town in Ohio. Be sure to hit that notification bell to be informed when our content drops. Leave a comment in the section below and like the video if you enjoyed it. This month, we found just one bad title. Outside of one very good one, most of the rest was a jumble of decent to pretty good titles. It made it difficult to decide the order it should go, but luckily, we found a solution. Here's my list of the films from worst to best that I saw in July 2022. And while we're at it, let's take a look at that tier list that we do for the each and every month. As you can see, we have 10 tiers, all the way from don't waste your time to awesome. And make sure to note that the grade's next to the list, as you'll see as we go down the list of films. And as a great philosopher once said, and here we go. My number 8 film for the month is The Identical. After an auspicious opening sequence featuring what appears to be an old Elvis riding around a limousine drinking whiskey as black and white scenes of sharecroppers pulling cotton happen, most of the rest feels like a bad hybrid of a dramatization of Raising Arizona. We have more kids than what we need, and they don't have any. And Daddy, I want to sing. It's about what you expect of the main actor being hired for his ability to impersonate Elvis and not his dramatic ability. Watching scenes of him and Seth Green pretending to be teenagers is kind of funny. Thankfully, Ray Liotta, Ashley Judd, and to a lesser extent Joe Pantoliano provide some dramatic ability to keep this one moving. And it does avoid preaching us to death about its points of having a greater purpose to life. But unfortunately, too often it feels dramatically inert and fails to be the left-right at least one YouTuber promised it to be. My number 7 film for July is Wuthering Heights. The film fares best as a dramatic exploration of the costs of putting revenge above everything else, as Heathcliff goes through the ringer. His fortune may rise and fall with time, but the plans he has towards his stepbrother and stepsister, who shares a love-loathe relationship, drains the love he has as well as the life of the house that exists. The score is solid, and the cinematography is fine. Unfortunately, it spends too much time with the romance between himself and his stepsister, which is ethically debatable. The romantic element did not work for me, and the film spends a decent amount of time on it. Supposedly, the novel explores themes of generational dark drama, which unfortunately gets shafted in exchange for a shorter running time. Although it was up for Best Picture, there were several real classics in 1939 that beat this one fairly easily. My number 6 film for the month is none other than Moby Dick. Speaking of revenge, Captain Ahab plots the demise of the great white whale who has taken out one of his legs and several other sailors in 1840s New England. Much like Heathcliff, Ahab lets his obsession for revenge take over his heart. This is the second John Huston adaptation of a novel I've seen this year, and I'm pleased to say this leapt ahead of The Red Badge of Courage, partly because of Huston's ability to use the passages from the novel to tell the story without overly relying on it, and partly due to Gregory Peck's impressive performance as Ahab. Orson Welles has a nice cameo as a church preacher who delivers a sermon from a ship hull inside his place of worship. Some of the supporting characters get short-shrifted, and the scenes set at night are kind of hard to tell what's happening. But after this film, I'm definitely interested to see more films from Huston. Over at number 5 is Canvas. This short film deals with an older artist who struggles to paint again after losing his wife and his granddaughter, who seems to have picked up his love of art. The use of watercolor is imaginative and well done, and they were able to tell a story without using any words in just 9 minutes. The ending felt a bit underwhelming, and the story itself could have dealt with more than it did. But despite the brief runtime, the film did manage to move and inspire anyway. Which, and my number 4 film is Margin Call. Although it's about an investment firm who debates what to do when an analyst learns that the bottom is about to fall out on their mortgage investments, the film itself feels more like a showcase for its actors. Plenty of monologues and choice dialogue from director J.C. Chandor is brought to life by actors like Stanley Tucci, Paul Bettany, Kevin Spacey, Simon Baker, Demi Moore, Jeremy Irons, and Mary McDonnell. The film manages to bring difficult concepts to viewers in easier to understand ways, and is able to take on a thriller format as the film goes through the night hours into the next morning. The characters you watch are for the largest part hard to care for, although you do have to admire the bravado of one of them being able to spend $2.5 million in 1 year without batting an eye. Getting the bronze medal for this month is a documentary, Roll, Red, Roll. It looks unflinchingly inside a small town in Ohio who loves its football and struggles to find the right course of action when several of its younger residents have their way with the Jane Doe. The bragging in social media and the look other way mentality of the majority of the town gets shaken when first a blogger and then anonymous decide to take actions to fight for justice. Although it is difficult to watch at times, the film examines both the blame, the victim culture that is still prevalent today, and the old boy network that tries to excuse the behavior of the youths. It may not be the easiest of watches, but it is well done exploring the crime, the trial, and the future ramifications of the guilty and the townspeople left picking up the pieces. Ending up in the runner-up spot for July is the Best International Picture nominee Lunana, A Yak in a Classroom. The lead character has dreams of singing internationally and is a bit of a slacker. Unfortunately, it puts him in a bind when his previous evaluation ends poorly and he's shipped to a rural school in Bhutan. Although the journey may be long and he has to adapt to the intermittent electricity, he does come to appreciate the students and the other people in his new town. The film is a slow burn, but you might just decide to become a teacher after watching this one. The use of music is well done, and the town will win over your heart. Some of the more complex themes do kind of feel like they are pushed aside for the main narrative, and it does get a bit predictable at times. But in the right hands, predictable can work, and Lunana is most definitely in the right hands. And my number 1 film for the month of July is Forsama. Not only is it a portrait of what is happening in Aleppo from 2012 to 2017, but also serves as a series of video letters from a journalist to her daughter explaining what's happening and why. As the violence and the intensity of the fight increases, Wad must decide whether to stick around in support of her country or find safety for herself and her family. The documentary has a personal angle that draws you in while showing the people of their town trying their best to lead a normal life as the regime attempts to break them with bombings and a siege. There's signs that this war is having a toll on the younger people of Aleppo, as you can see their innocence being lost. Whether it's a lighter scene of a group of kids painting and playing in a shelled bus, or a scene in a hospital where Wad's husband Hazma and his staff move heaven and earth to try to save a baby born in rubble. This documentary needs to be seen and appreciated by a wider audience. And before we go, be sure to check out my links. You can find me on Instagram at TicketsPlease1, on Twitter as TicketsPlease, on Discord with that link, and also on Twitch as TicketsPlease. So what do you think of the films I talked about today? What was the best film you saw in July? Be sure to subscribe and spread the word. I'll see you next month with more titles. As the ticket booth is now closed.